and Coil.
Commissioner of Police Alex George Mensah accuses Inspector General of Police George Ekufu Dampare of masterminding the recording and leaking of tape of alleged plot to oust him.
Later in the bulletin, court to hear the minority in Parliament's affidavit opposing the Accra Regional Police's motion to prohibit the Occupy Bank of Ghana protest on Monday, September 4.
Former Chairman of Electoral Commission Kojo Afari-Gyan urges Opposition National Democratic Congress to consider returning to Inter-Party Advisory Committee IPAC. We'll tell you why.
Later in business, General Agricultural Workers Union criticizes government's decision to replace the direct input subsidies with a complex and bureaucratic input credit scheme.
And on the international front, Gabon opposition calls for pressure on junta to hand over power to civilians. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, all across the world on 3news.com. Don't forget, we're also live on DSTV, channel 279.
All right, let's dig into the details now. And the Commissioner of Police, George Alex Mensah, has accused the IGP, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, of being behind the recording and leaking of the audio tape at the center of an alleged plot to oust the IGP. Appearing before the Bipartisan Parliamentary Committee, COP George Alex Mensah implored the committee to invite the IGP to answer questions on the leaked tape. Duke Mensah Opoku was at the sitting and reports.
The attached committee on its last hearings on Friday for the week had COP George Alexander Mensah in attendance. In Friday's hearings, he did indicate and state categorically clearly that the IGP, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, is the character behind the taping and the leaking of the audio tape that is at the center of this entire controversy.
My intel suggests that what was used to tape the conversation was done by the current IGP. He sent some people to do it, and after which he went for it. So the tape, from my intel, is with the IGP, and he caused it to be leaked. So if this committee wants the tape, the right person to call before this committee is the Inspector General of Police.
At a point in time in Friday's hearings, he did indicate through himself and through his lawyers that he needed a break to do a comparative analysis between the transcript of the audio tape and the audio tape itself for the purposes of indicating where his voice was tampered with, where the tape was doctored, and where he could indicate clearly that this was his voice.
And we also noted that the portion of the audio was not so clear at all. We couldn't hear anything at all. So it will be very, very difficult for the witness to remember which portion, maybe the 20th minutes in the audio, which have been transcribed here, which is not clear. So if the witness had the audio that the committee is investigating, together with the transcript, he could come back and say, okay, when I listened to the audio which you are investigating, and the transcript which you claim to have made of it, I do not think this was on the audio, or even if it is in the transcript, I did not say so. He could say so because of having listened to the audio.
COP George Alex Mensah did tell the committee once again that it was Bugri Nabu who reached out to him through Superintendent Asari as a likely candidate to replace the IGP because the MPP and the president were considering changing Dampare from removing him from his position as IGP for that matter. The chairman of the committee at the end of Friday's hearings told the press that the committee is considering inviting the IGP to answer some of the concerns that have been raised about his leadership and some of the concerns raised at the committee generally. For the IGP to be hauled before the committee or to be invited in relating to the matters in issue, is this a request that the committee would consider?
It's a likelihood. You see, and it's all gotten to do with how the evidence is evolving. So it's a likelihood. Because the facts we should place before Parliament, the plenary, should not be shoddy. It should not be one-sided. So it's a likelihood.
Duke Mentor Poku, TV3 News, Accra, Parliament House.
All right, so I'm sure many of you who've been following the live broadcast on TV3 have your own thoughts and perspectives on the revelations that were made by COP Alex Mensah today when he met the Ad Hoc Committee of Parliament. We'll be happy to hear those thoughts, when you share them with us on our various social media platforms and also on the many other stories we have for you this evening. Clearly, there are those who have also said that a number of the conversations or the revelations bother specifically on the police hierarchy. Let's speak to Dr. Adam Bona, who is a security analyst himself. He's joined us for a quick chat. I'm sure he's one of those who've been following this very keenly. Doc, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on News 360. Hello, Dr. Bona, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good evening, and thank you for being me.
Great, great. Thank you for your time as well. The issues that came up at the hearing today, especially the answers that were given by COP Alex Mensah, touch specifically on the police hierarchy. From where you sit, do you think it is time for a policy reform of the police service, or these are just words of a disgruntled officer?
Well, I find them to be words of a disgruntled officer, and I have, shared my views. My observation, if you ask me, looking at his testimony yesterday and today, how he flip-flopped, how he jumped around, and eventually even indicted the committee and certain things that he said yesterday, and the committee put it to him that they have him on record. The committee told him that they can play his voice, and the transcript is there. He later on said, well, I can't remember what you said. What I can say, observing from a distance, is that maybe looking at him and the inconsistencies and the flip-flopping, there would have been the need for the committee to recommend. I'm not saying there is any mental challenge with him, but to see if they have to do some psychological evaluation, because I can see the pressure and, the instability and the fact that he was not consistent with his answers and the fact that he goes back and forth, and at a point you notice the Honorable Atachian himself wasn't too excited and kept warning him that you are, giving testimony under oath. So if you lie, you'll be cited for perjury. He needed to sit up. For a senior police officer, according to him, 31 years in, working with the police, and as a senior citizen, 60 years, I would want to say that it would have been proper at his age, looking at his age and facing the public in this grilling moment, would have been good for the honorable, chairman and his vice and the committee to make a recommendation for a psychological evaluation of him, because observing him, I was worried because then there were too many inconsistencies.
Right.
And so I thought that, if you are going to place value on without some of these, evaluations, I am not sure. I'm beginning to ask a lot of questions, if you ask me.
Right. And I'm sure it's not just you alone. Many people have questions, and requiring more answers. But did you also get the sense that from what he said, as a serving officer who is due for retirement, there are general issues that the IGP needs to pay immediate attention to in terms of the concerns that he raised and that of many other serving officers?
Well, I haven't heard from, if you say, well, I'm not sure. I'm sure the IGP, I'm told the chairman and his committee said they might invite the IGP to come. And so I would want to hold on and listen, because at the moment, jumping into a conclusion and making recommendations, hasty recommendations, would not help. And so I would want to hear what the IGP will say to Ghanaians publicly with regards to what his former colleague or his subordinate. You know, the what went on and it was recorded and all that, what he has to say, because if you come to say the IGP is not correct, and you know, the general public says everything the IGP seems to be doing is okay, then me, as an ordinary citizen and taxpayer, I will tell you that my concern is for the police to fight crime, simplicity.
And maybe before you go, final question, and there are several layers to unpack from the sitting, but this particular point of the appointment of the IGP, there's been a suggestion, for instance, that the police service themselves should be allowed to elect their IGP and not the president. Considering the kind of influence Bugri Nabu is said to have had on the selection of this IGP and promises and the back and forth, is that a call you will support?
Oh, well, even if Nanado was elected, first of all, by the MPP at their internal primaries, but we've had some MPP people who don't see eye to eye with him. I would go with the suggestion that says that the mode of appointment of an IGP should be likened to that of the Chief Justice. How often do we hear members of the judiciary planning to oust one of their own? How often do we hear that the Commissioner of Shraj, his members are planning to oust him, or even the EC chair? How often do we hear that? And so the tenure of office is very important. Once he has tenure of office, all of them know that until there are adverse findings against the IGP, it will be difficult because you go through processes. You can't just, by the wicks of a pen, sack him. Once this is put in place, I think that it's going to settle all these gossips and machinations and, you know, I'll break the eight and all that. I'm sure it's going to settle it. So I will go with that suggestion.
Dr. Adam Bona, pleasure talking to you as always. He is a security analyst. Thank you for your time.
Moving away from that, a former chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Kwejo Afari-Gyan, is urging the opposition National Democratic Congress to consider returning to the Inter-Party Advisory Committee at a conference of NDC lawyers at Akosombo in the Eastern Region. He tasked the party to discuss concerns and seek solutions to enhance the electoral process. Here's a report by my colleague, Komla Kluche.
Just shortly after the 2020 general elections, the NDC refused to attend to IPAC. The party took the decision as they claim the lack of conduct, odious duplicity, and open bias that was displayed by the Jean Mensah-led Electoral Commission in favor of the New Patriotic Party in the conduct of the 2020 general elections. Over time, the Electoral Commission has conducted 2 by-elections where the opposition party partaking in it despite its aversion to the current leadership. The celebrated ex-electoral commissioner, Dr. Kwejo Afari-Gyan, speaking at the 3rd annual NDC Lawyers Conference, says the party must have a relook at its stance.
I think that of singular importance is the Inter-Party Advisory Committee. The IPAC makes it possible for political parties to know and make inputs to the important thing the Electoral Commission is doing at any point in time. It makes it possible to discuss concerns of the parties, and it makes it possible to contribute to the making of subsidiary legislation. I would appeal to the NDC to go back to the IPAC, if you have not already gone, madam. All right. So, of singular importance is there. So don't worry about it. They don't take my ideas. Don't do that. Please go there and make your ideas carried and felt.
This position the NDC finds intriguing.
To the other minority parties who, when we boycotted, they were telling us, oh, you need to come back, you need to come back. Today, the very reasons why we left, they've been fed with the same medicine. My opinion is that definitely we may have to consider going, but we must go in substance because we left for a reason. If you will go and it's just the same old reason, then there's no point.
The Electoral Commission has announced the commencement of voter registration at its district offices nationwide, a position that all minority parties have condemned. A former Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayinem, says the position on the impending voter registration is unjust, urging the legal team of the NDC to fight it.
Okay, in the way Mankarago, the farthest polling station from the district office of the Electoral Commission is 86 kilometers. Yes, 86 kilometers. So you can imagine somebody at that polling station having to pay for transportation and to travel to the Electoral Commission's office in order to register to vote. Now, what we are seeing today is deja vu, right? Because the Commission is insisting that they are going to conduct the registrations at their offices nationwide. And again, that is going to disenfranchise a lot of people.
For 3 days, the NDC's legal team will be equipping itself on what it describes as strategies towards election 2024. Former President John Mahama will address the NDC lawyers on Saturday. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Akosombo.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament and its allies have filed an affidavit opposing the Accra Regional Police Command's motion to prohibit the Occupy Bank of Ghana protest. The affidavit argues that the police's motion is an attempt to violate constitutional rights and liberties of those who want to demonstrate. Lord Edward Sari was in court and comes through with this report.
According to the police, protesting along Kimbu Makola, Rawlings Park, Oprah Square and Bank of Ghana route may cause violence, endanger public defense, safety, essential services and violate rights. But the affidavit in opposition filed by NDC Head of Legal Affairs, Godwin Tamaklo, describes such assertions as not only speculative but bereft of substance. The suit also described as unfounded the assertion by the police that respondents and the demonstrators cannot picket in and around the Bank of Ghana as it is a security zone. The 31-paragraph affidavit in opposition also added that the instant application by the police is based on apprehension and conjecture without any compelling evidence to justify the grant of the application. The respondents thus pray the court to, in the interest of fairness and justice, dismiss the instant application. On Tuesday, August 30, the Accra Regional Police Command filed a motion at the Accra High Court seeking to injunct the minorities' planned protest against the Bank of Ghana governor and his two deputies after the 60.8 billion cedi loss. The High Court is to hear the case on Monday, September 4.
The Ghana National Association of Teachers and the National Graduate Teachers Association have described the setting up of an emoluments committee solely for Article 71 office holders as discriminatory. The two pre-tertiary education unions were reacting to the setting up of the committee recently by President Akufo-Addo.
Over the past decade, organized labor has raised concerns about Article 71 holders in the Constitution. Labor proposed scrapping the requirement but has not been heeded. The Presidential Committee on Emoluments keep proposing increases in packages for Article 71 office holders. President Akufo-Addo has set up a new committee, reminding members to consider the current economic conditions when determining the packages.
A lot of public discourse surrounding the remuneration of public officers has centered primarily on those of Article 71 office holders, and whether or not, notwithstanding the constitutional imperatives, we are deserving of what is being paid to us in view of the challenges currently confronting our national economy.
But two unions under organized labor, NAGRAT and NAT, have described the move as discriminatory.
Within the police service, the senior officers within the police service retire on their salaries. The junior officers do not retire on their salary. The same as the Ghana Armed Forces, the same as the judiciary. If we don't change this discriminatory emolument regime, let us not be surprised that productivity cannot increase.
Most of the people that go into that particular service, we are not saying that they should not be paid. That is not what we are saying, no. Okay, that is not what we are saying. But The worker, the ordinary worker under Article 190, I tell you, majority of them return into family homes. And when you go there, you won't last long. I tell you, even if God has credited your account with 80 years, you will even beg God to take that credit.
The two pre-tertiary teacher unions are proposing another emoluments committee for public sector workers.
Call it whatever you want to call it. But the discriminatory emolument policy of our state is really not helping. And it contributes to corruption.
Once we are in the month of September, we are left with October, November, and budget is expected to be read somewhere November. And so once that of the Article 71 people is going to start, we should do all together so that we can finish everything on time and put it to the budget. We are good to go.
Let's turn our attention to health-related stories now. It is a season of upper respiratory infections, commonly called flu, and more children and the aged are mostly at risk. According to health authorities, though there is no significant increase in cases reported at health facilities across the country, cases being reported are predominantly that of the organism H3N2 virus rather than the H1N1 virus usually reported. Sarah Apenkro has more in this report.
Acute respiratory infection is a significant global cause of infant and childhood morbidity and mortality with 50 million untreated cases. Also known as flu, it causes coughs and short, rapid breaths similar to COVID symptoms. It is a seasonal disease, particularly during rainy seasons. Checks at some health centers within the capital revealed cases are more prevalent among children and the elderly. Medical practitioners at the Rich Hospital are, however, not ruling out COVID and chickenpox when cases are presented.
Whichever we pick, we will not have missed the opportunity to give you the adequate treatment. Children and the aged are the most vulnerable around this time because they have a lower immunity threshold. So it is very important that once you are having those symptoms, you come to the hospital. If you have a headache, take just paracetamol. Don't abuse the other medications, especially for children. You are not supposed to give them the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. It will cause different complications.
Deputy Director of Public Health and Head of Disease Surveillance at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Dennis Laye, disclosed that the service is monitoring the situation, but cases remain below the monthly threshold of over 200,000 cases nationwide.
We monitor for these, and it's across all 16 regions. The only thing is that the organisms have changed. The one that was leading, which is H1N1, we had that as an outbreak or a pandemic in 2009, 2010. But now it's changed to H3N2. So maybe there are what we call clusters. So it can happen maybe in one school, a number of people may fall ill, or in a certain workplace, one person may get it, and it would spread amongst that group. So within that small environment, yes, they would say that the numbers have gone up.
He encouraged the public to observe cough ethics.
When a person has a cough or a cold, I think as much as possible they should stay away from others. It's important that you put on a mask so that when you cough, the droplets don't come out of your mouth and be transmitted to others. Staying away from work with permission is also something important.
An epidemiologist, Professor Fred Binka, has been explaining the difference between the H3N2 influenza from H1N1.
In the epidemiology, usually it gets milder so that it can survive. It goes from person to person, and then it feeds on our cells. That's how it survives. When it improves transmission, it wants to be around, so it tries to improve the transmission, and then it loses its power to be harsh or virulent on us. The H3N2 is less virulent than the H1N1. And this year, the reason why you are seeing this happening is that since somewhere in May, the weather has just been like this. And it's a cold weather.
I have not been spared. Neither have some colleagues of mine. If you didn't know, now you know. It's the flu season, and it's not a pleasant experience. So protect yourself and your family, especially children. Sarah Apenko, TV3 News, Accra.
Definitely protect yourself out there. Still to come in the bulletin, increase in water and electricity tariffs takes effect amidst concerns that the new rates will negatively affect households and businesses.
The previous increment, people are not even able to cope with it. At least, I think this is serious.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
You just sleep. That's my Madina.
Sentuntum say wuna ma deji me ma wonsa.
Efrema bema gani oba.
Ma wonsa. Sentuntum amwa sumuda ma wonsa.
That shall not slap. Having black mosquito quail. Common tontom, na empom visie bebre, na ema wo mowa, na ema wo nhwem, na ehwem.
Having insecticide spray, sham, na sansu kumu a wotu ene omo wia nyina. Now having naphthalene balls and having perfumed insect repellent no kumu a wia, na senja hwa we chiri.
Having black mosquito quail, empom visie bebre, and se wo hwene so. Ehwem kama, no, emubu na jumo size no. Don't shit to me no.
And a heaven spray, heaven naphthalene balls, ni perfumed insect repellent no. Kumwa mutu, na wa nam from nothing just shanwechi.
Heaven dear, bakope. Heaven dear, bakope. Heaven dear, bakope. Heaven dear, bakope.
FDA aji edrede krato yatum.
You are your own person, unique, one of a kind, special. That's why you deserve everything tailored to suit your particular taste, your preference, your needs. Just like MTN Just For You. You can get customized offers tailored to who you are. Dial *141# or use the MyMTN app to get to choose from a variety of offers made just for you.
Choose Sukasa for the highest quality, luxurious townhouses in East Lagoon Hills. 2, 3, and 4 bedroom in a gated community starting at $40,000 in Accra, Ghana. Sukasa, building on trust.
It's the Premier League, all on DSTV. All the goals, clashes, and moments. All of Rashford, Salah, and Saka.
This start is getting better and better.
All in the language of your choice, all in HD. Available on all these bouquets to choose from, to watch on all these devices. Get DSTV with an HD decoder plus 1 month compact for 299 CDs. It's the Premier League, all on DSTV.
by day men, strong and refined. The skincare you deserve. Dream.
Whenever you fly to space or take your first step as baby, SoftCare always stays with you.
New SoftCare Space Series is rooted from space technology. Keeps you dry and comfortable for 12 hours long. Offers you the most effective protection during your space journey.
SoftCare. Protect your leap.
Thank you for staying with us on News 360. Let's run this by you. The increase in water and electricity tariffs has taken effect amid concerns that the new rates would negatively affect households and businesses. According to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, the upward adjustment has become necessary due to the high cost of operations, rising inflation, among others. My colleague, Noble Crosby-Annan, has more in the following report.
The recent tariff increase have led to widespread complaints among the citizenry. The complaint mainly about the financial burden, the impact on businesses, and some are also complaining about the lack of transparency on how these tariffs are increased.
To make the office business prices to go high, because when the prices are high, the customers might not even bring us the job, and that's when we are going to lose.
Already we are struggling to pay electricity bill, and now there is an increment. This will impact on us negatively, so if government can reduce the percentage, it will be appreciated.
The previous increment, people are not even able to cope with it. At least, I think this is serious, and I don't know how things are going to be.
How can you be increasing everything just by heart, just like that?
We got prepaid 1 million now. 5 days now, sir.
The prepaid doesn't last after purchase. We cannot bear this any longer.
Mama gonna demand too much do. Yam to me she.
On every week biano you to 2 million.
We pay so much for prepaid, and so this increment will be a worry to us.
Bill neban no so I was through.
The increment will be a burden. The business as a whole is not faring well.
3 days, 4 days,
everything has been increased, and so increasing tariffs at this point in time, I think, is just not the best idea.
Well, these complaints highlight the urgent need for a comprehensive approach to utility tariff adjustments, as policymakers are urged to balance the necessity of revenue generation for utilities with the social and economic well-being of the population. Noble Crosby-Annan, TV3 News, Accra.
The business segment is brought to you by MTN, Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
Thank you for staying with us. It's time for a business. Michael Obodu is here. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Aisha.
Tell us what's happening in business.
Well, you know, Planting for Food and Job Phase 2 has recently been launched, and the General Agricultural Workers Union have some concerns with that.
Boy, go ahead.
All right, then. Good evening. Welcome to the business segment here on News 360. My name is Michael Obodu. Straight into our first story, as the General Agricultural Workers Union, GAU, has strongly criticized the government's decision to replace direct input subsidies with a smart agricultural financial support system. President Akufo-Addo, during the launch of Phase 2 of the Planting for Food and Jobs program, indicated a plan to implement these changes through a comprehensive input credit program. The following report has the rest of the story.
General Secretary of GAU, Edward Kariwe, in an interview with 3 Business, voiced several concerns regarding government's resolve to replace direct farmer subsidies. One of his primary concerns is the potential introduction of a complex bureaucratic process for farmers seeking support under this new module.
No country in the world today, even with the well and developed countries like US and the EU countries, they are subsidizing agriculture heavily. And subsidy is a developmental tool which must be used as and when we need it. But it must be used in such a way that it does not create waste. It should lead to investment. So again, strategically, I don't think that government should retreat in giving subsidy to agriculture.
Edward Karewe also cast doubts about the program's ability to provide about 630,000 jobs as indicated by the president.
In 2017, when they implemented the the plan for food and jobs in the first year, the claim was that 750,000 jobs were created, and then with only 200,000 farmers. So as the number of farmers continue to go up every year, we expected more jobs to be created. But today, it is not a good story when it comes to job creation. I believe government will be struggling to point to jobs that they have created with the plan for food and jobs.
The Ghana Stock Exchange witnessed shift in key indices, stock performances and trading volume on the last day of trading for August. The following report has more details.
The GSE Composite Index recorded a notable decline of 14.70 points, concluding at 3,084.79 points.
The market recorded 6 gainers and 3 losers. Societe gained some pesos to close at 1 cedi 20 pesos. Unilever also gained some pesos to close at 7 cedis 40 pesos. Other gainers were Benzo Oil Palm, Stanchart, SIC, and Fan Milk. Car Bank led the losers, losing a peso to close at 61 pesos per share. Goil also lost some pesos to close at 1 cedi 57 pesos, whilst MTN lost 5 pesos to close at 1 cedi 45 pesos per share.
Despite this, the index remains resilient with a robust year-to-date return of 26.22% amidst challenges. This performance indicates continued investor interest and confidence in the market. Meanwhile, the collective market capitalization experienced a decline of 159.83 million cedis, reaching 73.25 billion cedis. This movement in market capitalization was largely driven by performances of individual stocks.
When a market capitalization of a company declines, it simply means that the share price of the company has dropped, and in this case, it reduces the value of the company on the market, and hence market capitalization is declined.
The Financial Stocks Index showed a different picture as it saw an increase of 47.62 points to conclude at 1,756.12 points.
Now, economist Professor Lord Mensah has criticized the Bank of Ghana for failing in its core mandate of achieving price and financial stability. According to him, all efforts by the central bank to bring inflation down have not yielded any positive results.
The primary goal of a central bank is to ensure price and financial stability by managing inflation and money supply. However, according to Professor Lord Mensah, the Bank of Ghana has failed to deliver on this mandate.
It has, lost that. And how many times has the Bank of Ghana increased monetary policy? Have you seen inflation coming down? There's no response. In that regard, it tells you that whilst the Bank of Ghana is financing the government directly in its activities, they turn on one side and then be fighting inflation. There'll be a stalemate because you pump money into the system and then you go and fight it on the other side, which for me it's a wrong thing to do. You would never get inflation down if you go in that direction.
He argues there are economic reasons for limiting how much the central bank can lend to government.
There's a limit to what the central bank can lend to the government, and there's an economic reason. If you lend to the government, you speed up, how money circulates, and the money will go into inefficient sectors that are politically motivated, not necessarily economically motivated. So even if the government is getting it wrong, right, politically, we expect the central bank to drive the long-term prospect of the economy.
Well, that will be all for the business segment here on News 360. For more business stories, please visit our website, 3news.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Thank you for watching. As always, please stay safe. Up next is sports.
You are your own person, unique, one of a kind, special. That's why you deserve everything tailored to suit your particular taste, your preference, your needs. Just like MTN Just For You. You can get customized offers tailored to who you are. Dial *141# or use the MyMTN app to get to choose from a variety of offers made just for you.
Pepsodent introduces charcoal and lemon essence. The unique combination of natural essences whitens teeth naturally for you and family because every smile matters.
New Pepsodent Herbal. Introducing a unique combination of herbal extracts in an antibacterial toothpaste for strong teeth and healthy gums that protects your family and you. Every smile matters.
Every child is so unique.
You like no other.
Outstanding in every way.
It's me like no other.
So anytime you walk and play,
you like no other.
You are special like Indomie.
It's me like no other.
Did you know that every child on the planet has their own unique fingerprint like no other?
You like no other. I can play the drums. I'm talented. It's me like no other. I can sing. I can dance. You like no other.
As well as their own unique talents and abilities.
I can cook. I can paint. You like no other. Indomie. You like no other.
So every day, in whatever you do, remember you are special in your own way, like no other.
Thank you, Mom, for letting me know I'm special and for making me my special Indomie. Thank you, Mommy.
Introducing Indomie beef flavor. Buy now.
This advert is FDA approved.
Make life beautiful. Embrace it with the all-new Ahwofe from GTP. Life, style.
Sports segment is brought to you by Bell Pack Tissues.
It's now time for sports.
Martin, I mean, we are just hoping that Kudus makes he gets some minutes tonight.
Yeah,
he didn't start the game, but he's on the bench.
He's on the bench,
so,
okay.
hopefully
Charlie,
he comes
fingers
on.
crossed.
Yeah. There's a draw, 0-0.
As of now.
Hopefully he comes on, scores the
winning goal so
that we get more news. But let's move on now to our first story this evening here on the sports segment on News 360. An executive committee member of the Ghana Football Association, Dr. Randy Abbey, has thrown his support behind Kurt Okraku as the latter aims for his second term as president of the Ghana Football Association. Now, he will compete for the spot alongside George Free. The elections are currently on hold due to an injunction by King Faisal Football Club.
George is a very, very good friend of mine. I mean, we go way back. I always wish him well. But I believe that Kurt deserves to continue. And I have indicated that publicly, you know, but that's it. I mean, for me, Kurt has started off well. There have been hiccups and all that, but I think that he's done enough to convince us that he should be given another opportunity.
Well, that's Dr. Randy Abbey there speaking in favor of Kurt Okraku and endorsing him as the next president of the Ghana Football Association. Now, the maiden edition of the Warm-Up Plus Esports Festival will come off this Saturday, that's September 2, 2023. The event, which is powered by the 3 sports teams, starts at 9 a.m. at the forecourt of TV3, with 32 gamers battling it out for bragging rights and exciting prizes. Participation in the esports tournament is 50 Ghana cedis, and entry for fans is free. Fans will also have the opportunity to participate in other games such as table tennis, football, and snooker. There would also be food, music, and it's a family fun day, and also some goodies await you. The event is sponsored by Mega 6 Lotto and Rush Energy Drink, and it will be live on TV3 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and continue from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It will also be streamed on TV3's social media platform. So you should join us. It's the Warmer Plus Esports Festival. But as the summer transfer window nears its end, various clubs in Europe are taking steps to complete late deals. Manchester United have been busy, and so have other teams. Here is our transfer wrap for today.
Manchester United have completed an agreement with Fiorentina for the transfer of Sofiane Amrabat on loan. The Moroccan had been linked to a number of clubs, but the Red Devils have seemingly snapped him up. Manchester United have completed the signing of Sergio Reguilon as they look to strengthen their defence in the ongoing 2023-24 season. Burnley have agreed a £31.5 million deal for Ian Maatsen from Chelsea. The player is expected to give the green light ahead of the transfer deadline. While Paulinia's move from Fulham to Bayern Munich has collapsed despite the midfielder having a medical in Germany. Fulham were unable to bring anyone in, and the German transfer window shut at 5 p.m. British time with no deal signed off. Spain forward Ansu Fati has completed a season-long loan move to the Premier League side Brighton from Barcelona. Fati had fallen down the pecking order at the Catalan club, who needed to create space in the squad to sign Manchester City fullback Joao Cancelo on loan.
Also, that's the transfer wrap for today. Don't forget that tonight is transfer deadline day, and so the transfer window will be closed after tonight. But West Ham United are leading Luton Town by 1-0. That game has gone on a recess. It's half-time in that game. 1-0, goal scored by Jared Bowen, and West Ham are cruising. If they win this game, they'll still stay at the top of the Premier League table. Now, some more news where Ghana Olympic Committee President Ben Nunu Mensah has urged the Ghana amateur boxing team, known as the Black Bombers, to aim for a minimum of 4 medals at the upcoming Africa Olympics. That as boxing is a prominent sport in Ghana, the team should strive to perform well and secure enough qualification spots for the next Olympic Games, ensuring that their country's reputation is upheld.
The 2024 African Olympic Qualifying Games will take place in Dakar, Senegal, between September 9 and 15. The Ghana amateur boxing team, the Black Bombers, have been in residential camp at the Bukom Boxing Arena since last week, as they work to choose the men's and women's teams that will represent the country. The president of the GOC, Ben Nunu Mensah, expressed confidence in Ghana's ability to make an impact in Dakar on Thursday after watching a media exercise.
If Ghana is going to win a medal at Paris, now, as I see, the picture that I see, is between boxing and track and field. Weightlifting will come in and swimming will also come in. But our best chance at any Olympic Games has always been the boxing team. That is why I want to encourage you. We're doing everything possible to make sure that all of you realize your dreams of putting an Olympic medal on your neck.
But that's Ben Nunu Mensah, the president of the Ghana Olympic Committee, bringing us to the end of the Sports News evening here on News 360. My name is Yao Ofusulabi.
Water is life. Water gives life. Water moves through nature in a never-ending cycle. Observe the beauty of water as it flows all around us, refreshing and restoring. Gaze in wonder at the stillness and beauty of nature. There's harmony in nature everywhere around. Water revitalizes the body and keeps you going strong. Water is life. Water gives life. Drink Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. So relax and unwind, and in the calmness of nature, find the rest you desire. For every bottle of Awake you buy, an amount to be donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. This advert is said here.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Are you tired of struggling with bad financial situations? At Quick Credit, we understand the difficulties that come with transitioning to a better one. That's why we're here to simplify the process for you. With loan facilities from 1,500 cedis upwards, all you have to do is call and we will take care of the rest. All you need is your national ID. No savings, no collateral, no susu, no deposits, and no account opening required. Quick Credit has you covered. Whether you're expanding a business, starting a new one, facing an emergency like school fees or funeral expenses, or even just in need of a salary loan. What are you waiting for? Call Quick Credit today. 0302 200 390 or 059 692 0833. We do not give loans via the internet. Quick Credit is regulated and licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. Quick Credit. Lending made simple.
Entertainment news segment is brought to you by Awake Purified Drinking Water, GTP Still Timeless, Vodafone Further Together, and powered by 3 Entertainment. Welcome to the entertainment news segment. My name is Anita Ikia Ekufu, and despite signing an MOU with organizers of Afro Nation to host the event in Ghana for 5 years, it doesn't look likely that Afro Nation will happen in Ghana this year. And boss of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akwesi Agyeman, has disclosed that getting an appropriate venue for the festival has been a major hindrance for organizers. And here's more on why Afro Nation may not happen this year.
Okay, what about December in Ghana? What's the plan? For example, is Afro Nation happening?
So far, I'm not too sure. Why I say I'm not too sure is all these events are events that we endorse. In some cases, we partner. Our intention was that by July, we'll have announced the first set of events. Almost all the events that we know, Afro Chella, now Afro Future, Little Havana, Dirty Rave,
they're all happening.
They all brought their proposals, and we have endorsed them. Afro Nation didn't bring the proposal, so we've been engaged with the organizers because already we had signed an MOU with them for 5 years that every year is going to happen.
There's certain demands that they are making. What are these demands that they are making, and can we meet those demands?
Okay, so I spoke about the venue. Where can we have Afro Nation? Because almost all the beaches, I mean, if you go to Portugal and the way it happens, there's a vast land beachfront that can be done. Marine Drive is what we used last year, but it didn't give them the sort of
flexibility that they wanted.
Flexibility that they wanted, or the way they wanted to set it up. And so we are looking at that. The last time they did it at La Boma.
La Boma, yes.
And then there were people saying that the places for them, there was a court case, and so it was very frustrating. Fortunately or unfortunately, 2020, because of COVID, it couldn't happen. But then when they came back, we're looking at where do we go, because La Boma had been built up. We couldn't even find a place for them. And then now eventually we said, okay, let's do the Marine Drive. But the logistics of setting up the Marine Drive, which is not a typical beach. Afro Nation is a beach festival, sort of. But it wasn't a typical beach. And we all know what happened where, because it's not an enclosed area, now the crowds were just moving in, they tried to block. It became very chaotic to a point where at some point they had to stop. And so we said, okay, what do we do this year? There's also the issue of importation of stuff, equipment, because the equipment that, they used last year, almost all of them were brought in. And when you're bringing this thing, you have to pay taxes. And you know that we have a new regime where tax exemptions are not easy to come by. So we have to now engage Ministry of Finance on, okay, if these things are coming, can we exempt so that these events come? So that's a conversation. There's also a conversation around security. state support, I mean, in one way or the other. So probably it may not happen in December.
And still on tourism, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akwesi Agyeman, is confident that Ghana will meet the 1.2 million international tourist arrivals target by the end of the year. But as of June, over 500,000 tourists had visited Ghana.
So as at, I would say, the first half of the year up to June, we are done slightly above 500,000.
Okay.
The target is 1.2, but these are international arrivals mostly. And so we're still confident that we can get to the 1.2. Last year, around the same time, we were around 400. And so we've seen some growth, but I believe that the target is 1.2.
Okay.
To do that, we've run a lot of campaigns internationally. In the month of October, for example, we are doing Ghana Week in D.C.
Okay.
Partnering with the Mayor's Office in D.C., with Howard University, to drum home the fact that brothers and sisters in the diaspora must come home. You know, it's all part of the Beyond the Return agenda, and also trying to position Ghana as a destination for the African diaspora.
Yeah.
And away from that, stubborn academy boss AMG Medical has weighed in on the ongoing comparison between Ghanaian and Nigerian artists. And in 3 Entertainment X Spaces, Medical believes that Ghanaians are so lost in the comparison that we lose out on the entertainment aspect of the craft.
You for live within your means. Me, Medical, as I did, I not say, okay, my strength or my fans or my fan base or my power go fee control at least 5K or 2K or 1K people come one side. So this is what I'll do now. Now, in the next, you know, in some few years to come, if I feel like, okay, right now, this be where my strength reach and this be where my fans reach, I for do 50,000, I go do them. But the comparison between myself and other artists, because this artist go do them, so I for match up or reach wherever the artists do reach, it be very wrong because we all will be different.
My name is Anita Ekia Ekufu. Is a wrap on the entertainment news segment. Have a beautiful weekend.
Gabon's main opposition group, Alternance 23, has urged the international community to encourage the junta that overthrew President Ali Bongo this week to hand power back to civilians. Albert Ondo Osa, an economist professor who represented 6 opposition parties under the alliance Alternance 2023, garnered 30% of the votes, while the incumbent got 64%. Military officers seized power in a coup on Wednesday, minutes after an announcement that Bongo had secured a 3rd term in an election, ending his family's nearly 60-year hold on power. Osa said the Gabonese had voted massively for him and he would use constitutional means to contest the election outcome. The military has placed the ousted leader under house arrest and installed General Brice Oligui Nguema as transitional leader.
And just before we go, remember to brush your teeth before you go to bed tonight and when you wake up in the morning with either the Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, the Pepsodent Charcoal, the Pepsodent Herbal, or the Pepsodent Triple Protection, because with Pepsodent, every smile matters. And that's it for the bulletin. My name is Martin Esiedudate.
And I am Aisha Yakubu Khalid. Have a lovely weekend.